for live videos as far as my channel is concerned for the year 2023. For today's video, I'll be discussing about the procedures on how you can obtain a medical certificate for a Thai work permit. To answer this question, which many of you have been asking, like how do you go about the procedure to obtain a medical certificate in the kingdom? There are four questions I would like us to think of. The first one is why? Why do you need a medical certificate? Two, who needs a medical certificate? Three, when can you obtain a medical certificate? And four, how can you go about the application of a medical certificate? So think of these four questions: why, who, when, and how, to understand how to obtain a medical certificate in the kingdom. So to quickly begin, why do you need a medical certificate? Based on Thai laws, as far as employment is concerned in the kingdom, a foreigner who hopes to apply for a work permit for long-term employment in the kingdom must obtain a medical certificate for the following reasons. One, to check if the foreigner is free from any illness or mental illness that may hinder the job which he's been employed for. And the purpose of the medical certificate is to equally check for the following diseases. You have leprosy, tuberculosis, drug addiction, alcoholism, elephantiasis, and syphilis. These set of diseases is strictly prevented in the kingdom. So they force you, it's mandatory to go for a medical checkup in order to watch out for these viruses. And who needs this medical checkup? Normally, like I mentioned, anybody that is seeking for long-term stay in the kingdom through work permit, you need to obtain a medical certificate. It's a must do. And since I'm a teacher, I'm presenting this video most especially for teachers in the kingdom. You need a medical certificate to be able to apply for a work permit. Other foreigners in other work discipline also go for a medical certificate. It doesn't matter if you're a player, like there are those that play football in the kingdom, they equally do medical certificate. It's for everyone. I've been able to answer the first two questions. Why do you need a medical certificate and who needs it? Now let's move on to the next question. When do you need one? The truth is, at any time of the year you can apply for a medical certificate, but it must go in line with your job, what you've been employed for. It's very unlikely that you just wake up one day and decide to obtain a medical certificate. No, unless you're going for a general checkup, which is quite common with many foreigners who pay keen attention to their health. It's good to do general health checkup, especially if you have a health insurance. However, this medical certificate is for a purpose of work permit application, and it can only be done at the request of an employer, a Thai employer. In this case, since you're a teacher, it's very likely that your school, through your boss, will be the one to request for this medical certificate from any hospital of their choice. In most cases, your school already has a specific hospital that they intend to send you to, maybe because of the relationship they have with the hospital and the trust they resort. Most cases, they will send you to a specific hospital. It's very unlikely that they will let you go to a hospital of your choosing. It doesn't work like that. From my experience, they always send you to a specific hospital. And to obtain one, what your employer needs to do is he or she needs to write a letter, address a letter to the hospital, requesting the hospital to carry out a medical check on you for the purpose of work permit. This must be specified because they have target illnesses that they are looking for, like leprosy, which I mentioned, tuberculosis, drug addiction, alcoholism, elephantiasis, and syphilis. These are the diseases which they will check for. And once they've given you this letter, you have to take it to the hospital where they will direct you to. And the last question is how. How here is how you go about applying for a medical certificate. And of course, the location is a hospital, any hospital that your school might assign you to. What you do is get this letter from your school, go along with your passport, Once you get to the hospital, present this letter to the nurse in attendant or nurses in attendant. They'll read through the letter. Since it's in Thai, they'll understand what you want. The next thing they will do is to request for your passport. By this, they take your personal information like name, your age, nationality, and of course, they will ask you questions about your health history. Have you had any serious diseases in the past, or maybe an infection that hinders you from performing this job which you've been employed for? You go through those questions, and the next thing they will do is to check your blood pressure. Once they check your blood pressure, they will take you into a room where they will take your blood to use for this test procedure. Once they take your blood, that will be all. They will tell you to wait. If you can't wait, you can go back to your school and pick up the test result maybe later in the day, or somebody in your school can come over to the hospital to pick it up for you if you have classes. Otherwise, you stay at the hospital and wait for the results. Normally, if the procedure is quite fast, it's 1 hour. Otherwise, it can take between 1 to 3 hours. Yeah, and the fee for government hospitals, most especially, can range between 360 to 500 type, even private hospitals as well. It depends on the hospital in question. 360 to 500, not more than that. You can even pay less for some. And what I want you to understand is you need not do your medical test only in a hospital. There are also medical clinics in the kingdom run by professional medical experts that do provide a medical certificate, although some of them do not bother to carry out a proper test. If you're somebody who is really interested in a test, like to know your status, then I'll advise you go to a hospital, because if you choose a clinic, they won't. In most cases, they just fill the document, and the document is signed by the medical practitioner and give you that, or the labor office accepts it for the application of a work permit. Most in most cases, you are just going there for the signature, and I've seen many foreigners doing this if they don't want to go to the hospital. But I advise you go to the hospital. It's good to know your health situation, especially if you have not been going out for a general health check. And for non-native English speakers, especially Africans, you have to be aware of these a few facts. Since you're from Africa, they might press you on other illnesses like malaria. They might ask questions about this. It's good for you to have clear explanation about this. Normally, before you travel from Africa to Thailand, you must have taken malaria vaccination. If you have the card, present it to the hospital staff or the school, and they'll be okay with this. And even at the level of the labor office, when applying for a work permit, I'll advise you make a copy of this yellow fever vaccination card. The next thing you need to pay attention to, not just non-native English speaker, please, everybody intending to apply for the work permit. As far as medicals are concerned, you equally need to think of your COVID vaccination or proof. Since we've been in an area of COVID, it's normal that many employers will request for this. You have to show proof of COVID vaccination, at least 2 shots. If you have this certificate, please include it in your file or give a copy to your school. And the last thing you need to have in mind is your police background check. I equally advise you do a police background check from your home country before coming to Thailand, or if you're already in Thailand, do one in advance. Although your school will still request for one for you, but it's good to have a police background check in your keeping. Once again, apart from the medical certificate, you need a COVID vaccination proof. You need a police background check. And for those from Africa, you might also need a yellow fever vaccination proof. Once you have these documents, you'll be good to like apply for a work permit in the kingdom. And what is a work permit, you might be asking? For those that do not know, maybe it's your first time seeking employment in the kingdom. It's a legal document that permits you to live and work in the kingdom. It's a blue book, small blue book, and is usually offered to English teachers who intend to live and work long term in the kingdom. I hope this point helps you to like successfully apply for a work permit in the kingdom. I hope this point helps you to like successfully apply for a work permit in the kingdom. I hope this point helps you to like successfully apply for a work permit in the kingdom. I hope this point helps you to like successfully apply for a medical certificate if your school is asking you to do one. It's not a complicated process. Just follow the procedures which I've explained and you will have this certificate in no time. Thanks for watching. Once again, Happy New Year, and I hope to see you in my next live session that will come up maybe on Thursday or over next weekend, depending on how I see my work schedule. I love you all. Take care, and please remember to subscribe to the channel. You can equally sign up for channel membership, and of course make use of the super thanks. If you love what I'm doing, the only way you can show appreciation is by sharing super thanks. Thanks. See you next time. Bye.